he's not playing any of the one drops. Instead, has a bigger higher end.
Yeah.
And we have Anthony Avitollo on the right playing red white burn. We saw him a little bit earlier take down a burn mirror match.
So Christopher going to lead off with a Temple of Plenty. I don't have as much experience with these Naya decks, but in the experience that I do have with them is that the templeness of the mana base, it gets tedious fast. Having your lands come into play tapped was a huge problem for me, but it looks like Christopher is not going to be bothered by that too much.
Oh, it might only be an issue if you have the one drops, right? Because then you have that tension where it's like, I don't know if I want to play this Temple,
sure,
or if I'm better off playing this Dryad Militant, but it looks like Christopher just skipped that completely.
Yeah. Does have to shock himself to get that Voice of Resurgence into play, which can be a pretty serious problem against a burn deck. And Anthony going to fire off the main phase Magma Jet, convert that Voice into a temporarily 1/1 elemental. And that's a weird spot for Anthony. I assume post-board Anthony is going to have access to Chain of the Rocks. Yes, there are 3 of them. And then 2 Glare of Heresy also on the board. So
yeah, also a Banishing Light if he wants that. He has some Boros Reckoners as well.
So plenty of actual 1-for-1 answers to Voice of Resurgence if he can find them. But apparently couldn't. And even if he did have Chain of the Rocks here, he can't actually cast it on a Temple of Triumph and a Mutavault. So Christopher, unfazed, follow up Fleecemane Lion, attack for 2, and ship it back.
I think I see his plan here. I think he just wanted to Magma Jet it, and then this turn he could play a Satyr Fire Dancer.
Okay.
And could just shock Christopher and get rid of the Elemental.
I gotcha. Okay. And he can still do that.
Right. So that's a nice little way of containing Voice of Resurgence and making sure that it doesn't bother you too much in the long term.
Yeah. Now he is going to take some beats from that Fleecemane Lion in the meantime. And yeah, Satyr Fire Dancer is a serious workhorse against green decks post-board.
Yeah, I mean, the green aggro decks make you either race them with burn spells or kill other creatures, and this thing allows you to do both, which is fantastic.
Lets you to continue plan A while incidentally doing plan B.
Correct.
And again, just as you drew it up and as Anthony drew it up, Satyr Fire Dancer are going to come down, shocked Christopher's face, also incidentally to that Voice of Resurgence. Well, sorry, to that Elemental token. Ugh. All right. So Christopher slams Unflinching Courage onto the Fleecemane, cracks in for 5, and gains a huge 5 life.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly good, right? Like, you have this 5/5, which is typically out of reach of burn spells, but if Anthony can put together 2 burn spells, he can potentially just take down this Fleecemane while also burning Christopher, so...
Sure. But then that's also 2 burn spells more that Anthony has to find in order to win the game. So it's kind of like a mind rot in that sense.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, like, the life gain is huge, don't get me wrong, but if he's able to keep Satyr Fire Dancer in play and keep Christopher off of creatures, then I don't think it really matters, because going long, like, Anthony's going to be favored.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, it is, I think, somewhat likely that Anthony actually finds a way to get this thing off the board, but...
Yeah, I think he needed his 4th land to enter the battlefield untapped.
Yeah, needs either a shock in hand or for that Temple to have been something else. It looks like there's a second Fire Dancer, a Lightning Strike.
A Boros Reckoner and a War Leader's Helix.
Okay. So cannot cast the Helix, or the Reckoner for that matter. And neither of the other 2 do it. So Anthony looking like he's going to have to allow Christopher to gain at least another 5.
Yeah. And at this point, it kind of feels like you just play out the second Fire Dancer, potentially, and then maybe you could use both of them to take down the Fleecemane Lion next turn.
He can also...
But you can still do that with the Lightning Strike, I suppose, so you're really in no rush.
Yeah, you can also, with the Mutavault, you can trade off with
sure.
Mutavault and Lightning Strike.
And maybe that's Anthony's plan here.
Now that is exposing yourself to a lot of things, including this Boros Charm in Christopher's hand. And Fleecemane Lion gonna come swinging. Anthony activates, maybe blocks. I'm not sure if he's still thinking about it or maybe has just announced it verbally.
Yeah, I mean, like, it kind of looks like he wants to double block here. Is that something he wants to do? Doesn't really seem necessary.
No. Because the Fleecemane Lion is a 5/5, so if Christopher has some way to kill off the Mutavault, it's not like Lightning Strike plus Satyr Fire Dancer actually does anything.
Right. It basically trades Standard Fire Dancer for a point of damage, which, I mean, I think if Christopher has something like Gore Clan Rampager or even Boros Charm to double strike, Anthony's in a lot of trouble. So I don't think throwing away the Fire Dancer for a point is really worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, and these Naya decks are, yeah, that's their bread and butter, is to have tricks that seriously punish you for blocking,
Yeah.
you know? So this is not a comfortable spot for Anthony. And sure enough, it's Gore Clan Rampager.
So that's 9.
That's 9, and we know there's a Boros Charm in his hand, so this is going to be a lot of damage real quick. And the question is, does Anthony have any response? We know that he doesn't. Well, any that actually help him here.
Right. Is there some sort of bluff that he can sell here? But even then, it's like, even if Christopher doesn't Boros Charm, say he's scared of something, what happens?
Yeah.
You know, he leaves it open to protect his creature. Anthony takes his turn, and if he has a land on top after his Mutavault dies, he'll need to play Fire Dancer, play Lightning Strike to try and kill it. He can just Indestructible it then. And Christopher's just, he has it all. He has the World's Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even sure if there's a card in Standard you can represent there. Is there a white fog effect?
Reprisal?
Okay. All right.
Reprisal is actually a pretty reasonable card.
Actually, yeah. You with the tricks.
Yeah, it's like I do this for a living or something, you know? It's like
it's almost as if you are full of technology at all times.